morning, everyone. Welcome to Mana TV and TV5, and you are watching Insight with Praveen Puram. As we are seeing number of shows, getting lot of knowledge on different aspects, and today we have our guest as Miss Bhairavi Chandramouli. So she is a Montessori lead teacher, and she also teaches in our Montessori in coming Atlanta. Today's world, because of the pandemic, there is a virtual challenges, right? How do we learn virtually? So we are going to learn more about the challenges from Miss Bhairavi. Welcome, Miss Bhairavi.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Puram.
Thank you. So just let's introduce Miss Bhairavi. So Miss Bhairavi Chandramouli began her journey in education with a bachelor's degree in psychology from San Jose State University, California, followed by homeschooling her first child. Having witnessed the Montessori methodology in action with her second child's formative year of learning, she decided to continue teaching with the MACTE approved credential in Montessori elementary education. She has been part of Montessori Academy at Sharon Springs since 2016. The immense potential of the human brain in sensitive periods of development are two critical elements that draws her closer to Maria Montessori. Unparalleled pedagogy. Along with the passion for caring for nature, she enjoys igniting the spark in young minds and being surrounded with love. Welcome again. Thank you so much for your time, Miss Bhairavi. So anything you wanted to add apart from what I have explained about yourself?
No, you said it well. Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy. It's a joy to be on this show and to spread whatever I have with everybody and share with everybody.
Right. Thank you again. Getting on to the details of the show. As you know, during this pandemic, it is very, very unusual, and learning virtual has become a new norm. So, what do you see? What are the challenges you see in your day-to-day life, and also with the students you interact with the students?
So, of course, we all switched to virtual in March, and it was unprecedented. We were not prepared. So, we all had to learn as we went about. But then we all expected this to be over by summer and all of us to get back to normal, but it didn't happen. And we were faced with a challenge to actually launch a formal virtual program. So for us, having a Montessori philosophy in as our forefront and transferring that into virtual was challenging because Montessori is very hands-on. We didn't want to lose that the principles behind Montessori while going virtual. We didn't want to become like any traditional virtual setting. We wanted to hold on to the essence of Montessori. So it was tricky, but we kind of held on to few basic elements which we think are very integral to Montessori, and we stuck to it. And we have been kind of playing around, like the engagement. The students' engagement is so important. And in a virtual setting, it kind of gets tricky because the child is somewhere else. Like now we have some students from across the continent. They traveled and they are across the continent. Yes. So how do you engage them? I think that is the biggest challenge. When the child is at home, like they're pretty much locked up at home and their access to the actual world is limited, cut off. How do you engage them? How do you keep this spark alive till we can have them back in our classroom? So that is the biggest challenge, but we look at it more as a way of keeping the spark alive. You know, they're home. We need to just keep them going. So that's the biggest challenge.
So let's come to the safety, right? So today we have virtual in classes. Do you think it's really confusing or overloaded to the teachers today? What is your feeling having both of them? I feel if you have only one, that would be perfect. But few people are coming online, few people are coming in person. Don't you think it's a tedious job to the teachers?
Yes, in a traditional setting, Yes, that's what is happening. The teacher is providing students in-person lessons while she's providing, virtual lessons. I think it's exhausting, but hats off to the teachers. I think they are doing exactly what I'm doing, keeping the spark alive, keeping it going. And, they are the hope and future. So I think we are just doing our best, but hats off to all those teachers. It is a challenge. It is exhausting. It's challenging with the mask on, with all those restrictions, but they make it happen. So,
Right.
yeah.
That's really great of the teachers. A lot of patience. It takes patience.
Yes, it takes patience, and not, people choose this profession over many other because it's a noble profession, and they are sticking with it in this crisis, and I think that is commendable. So,
So coming to the Montessori, right? So this is a private school, and even my kid goes to Montessori. So when you are talking about virtual, all Montessori is you feel and learn, right, with the material. But being in virtual, how are you able to really manage the concept of Montessori?
so we have been creative to a large extent. So what we did in our school is we actually created Montessori kits for them, very basic kits based on their level. So they all received a kit, so they could take it home and they could work with them. So the younger kids received like movable alphabets. They received, as I said, the checkerboard that your daughter is enjoying. So
Yeah.
they're learning how to do multiplication. So, and we created bead sets for them. Actually, one of our teachers, she sat and put together those bead bars for them. So it was a lot of it was fun. It was fun putting it together. We had to be creative. And of course, we can't provide the whole array of materials that a classroom provides. But what we have tried is a lot of hands-on, where the students are actually doing things on the other end. So in my upper elementary classroom, where I have like a fifth grader learning the sum of the internal angles of a triangle, in a classroom, they have materials that they can manipulate. But I just had to improvise. So what they do is they take a graph paper, I take a graph paper, we cut up all the three types of triangles, and we cut them up to see how the internal angles come together to make a straight angle. So they're probably doing one step more than they would do in a classroom, because in a classroom, it's a ready-made material that they just manipulate. But here, they're actually creating the material, which is a very important aspect of development, where you actually create before you manipulate. So we added that one extra step to the learning, where you create before you manipulate. So we didn't expect, but we went along with it, and it evolved, and it's been a joy. And they're so thrilled when they see, oh my God, that is so true. So that's where the pleasure.
I really agree with you, in a sense that they are very thoughtful, creative, learning from you online, and it's an individual capability improvement. At the same time, I also want to know the engaging learning environment as well in this example. For example, when you are teaching, out of the 10 or 15 students whom you teach, but one or two he might be not able to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you engage such students in this limited time?
So I guess that's where our training comes in place. Our training emphasizes not on mastering the material, but the social emotional development of the students. So we devote a lot of time to know who the students are. So for me, it was a new platform where I haven't, like some students I had met in the past, so it was easy, but some I'm yet to meet in person. But you make the eye contact, you're looking at their social or facial cues, and those with time and experience as a parent, as a teacher, who is getting it and who is not. So we do use the chat box, and I send a private message when a student is not willing to or is hesitating to tell in front of everyone that I don't get it. So we chat with them, and they chat back, and sometimes they're sending me private messages saying, Miss Bhairavi, I don't get it. Can you teach me again? So I make time for them afterwards. That's when we do those one-on-one sessions. We do office time, because not every student is open to, confess or to reveal that they didn't master a content. But I think the experience, instincts, all play in role. And, when you look at them on the screen, who's getting it and who is not. And without embarrassing them, that's very important. Without embarrassing them, you need to kind of make a note and also create the channel for communication.
Wow.
That the student can reach me at any point with any question. So the channel of communication you need to build, and that comes with trust. They need to trust you as a person, not just as a teacher. So that human connection, so you devote a lot of your energy in opening up the channel so the child will reach out to you. And
I think you explained very well, Miss Bhairavi. I agree with you, because now when the chat option, most of the kids might not know. It's a good way of educating them to give it privately, and you taking time and educating them and bringing them up to the speed. But don't you think in these grounds the kids get used to chatting with each other when you are teaching? So how do you cope up with that? As a parent, I get worried, because whenever I'm in between my meeting, I just keep an eye on my kid to see what she is doing. But how do you make them understand and balance in those aspects?
See, that's where the discipline and the concept of self-discipline that is very integral of the Montessori philosophy comes in play, where we remind the students. I've had students tell me, Miss Bhairavi, can you disable the chat because somebody is talking? And I keep repeatedly telling them, I'm not going to disable. I am going to ask you to practice self-control. So, something that we would practice in the classroom, self-discipline, self-control, self-management, I'm trying to instill that in their virtual setting. And actually the student who is kind of, impulsive is getting the message, and they do stop after 1 or 2 or 3 attempts. So, that's when I'm trying to build my trust and communicate with that one student who wants to deviate from the norm. So
that's great. That's great to hear. Now let's talk about building a sense of community, right? So if the kids are in the school, they really enjoy with their peers, they play around, but being virtual, it's all new to them. So how do you really meet the need in that area? Do you give some time to chat together with the people or with the kids, or how is it happening today?
So we do multiple things. One is on Fridays, they have a club hour. So my students, they come to my Zoom room, and we have a club for doing online coding. We have a club for doing girls meet up to do a sewing, club. They have a sewing club. So they bring their dolls and their clothes, and they are just stitching clothes. And so what I do is I make breakout rooms, and the kids can pick which club they want to go to. And they go into those club rooms and they share the screen. So we have one student who is teaching everybody to learn how to code.
Wow.
So he shares his screen and he's guiding everybody. So these kids are, so it is that is the time when I am not there, but I am supervising, but I am not present. So that's their time to mingle and be themselves and connect with each other. And what else we do is we also sometimes do like comprehension, where I put them in breakout rooms and say, you decide who's going to be your team leader, like a spokesperson, and you all answer the questions together, and we will meet back. We meet again in the main room where you as a spokesperson for your team discusses what you decided. So we do multiple things like that to engage them, where I am not physically present, but I am supervising them, because they do need that time where they are engaging with each other without me being, watching them. So we do that. And at the end of the day, we do play some games like Scratch. Like, of course, they're all online. But again, I step back and they play those games. So that's their platform for communication and building that sense of community.
Yeah, awesome. So, Miss Bhairavi, don't you think now the kids miss recess time? Because always my kids talk about races. They are very excited for the recess time, right? So, how do you manage the recess time in the school? You have generally they play for 1 hour or 30 minutes for exercise or playing anything outside games. So today, do you have that discipline in them to do that?
To step out and have recess time.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest challenge. And we haven't really been able to break through that because some students, so my vision was to like be out one day and everybody gets out and we do something. But we do still have some students whose parents are working.
Yes.
So they are working and they're on call. So these students do not have the mobility to step out of the house. That is the biggest challenge. The children are actually homebound because they have working parents and they want their kids to be safe, so their kids are home, but they're not able to step out. So I always try to create time during the day when I say, you need to get away from the screen. Just go get some sunlight, get some, outside time. It's good for you. So educating them, constant education that why do you need vitamin D? Why do you need to move around? Why your eyes need rest from the screen? So that kind of education is something we are able to provide. But I am worried for these children, including my own children who are home. I think their activity level has come down. So it is a challenge, definitely a challenge.
Even I'm worried because this challenge is not only to the kids, it has to the parents too, because now their working hours have been, staggered and extending hours where you cannot say no to anyone. But now I'm just thinking how to make up our time for the kids during. So somewhere we need to align. And the companies have to understand, and the parents have to understand how maybe hopefully something evolves around that area, and the kids get better in that area. So especially on the other thing, I'm really worried in the screen time. People are excited. The kids are excited with their whatever the tabs or laptops, and they are really going in deep, and they are trying. If you see my kid is really getting interested in the PowerPoint presentation. Even though she doesn't have, I know she has reached out to you many times that I'm going to do. So now I'm worried. In one way, I'm very happy that she's learning. In the other way, her screen time is increasing. So what do you want us to do psychologically to balance these situations?
I think even as educators, from the educator's perspective, sometimes we probably need to just tell them this presentation involves you actually creating hands-on. Like actually you create a material and then show it to us, then creating a PowerPoint. So that forces a child to get away from the screen and sit and draw. So give some, hand-eye coordination, work on that, and, improve your motor skills, fine motor skills. So that is something we can do as educators. I think as parents too, as you said, it is a difficult time. So as long as I think I have a lot of parents who reach out to me and my own friends, it is exhausting experience for most people because as you said, work has become tedious. You're watching your children. You're not going out as much. So everything is homebound. I think as long as we can all try to create whatever balance we can, and this will be over soon and we will be back to normal. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is only so much some people are able to do. Wow. And you need to step back and just shut down everything and sit back and relax and tell yourself it's going to be okay. I guess that's probably the best approach because a lot of things are not in our control now.
Yes, you have rightly said, Ms. Bhairavi. Everyone are praying for that as soon as we get the vaccine and we are back to normal. Hopefully that will happen very soon. And let's talk about little bit about the responsibility of the work, right? So how the responsibility of the work is taken by the teachers and the kids, how do you track them?
So, we use Google Classroom as a
Mhm.
platform for communication. So the students and Google has done a good job in how they have formulated the Google Classroom. So it is very straightforward when you say, okay, this is the assignment, these are the guidelines, and this is when it is due. And if it's an extended project, we kind of break it down for them. And the students, again, being Montessori kids, we do not say, they don't get graded. They don't
Mhm.
get penalized for turning in work late because, there are, circumstances where children need more time than prescribed. So they're Montessori kids, they know, and they also are. So basically working on making them responsible. So reminders that,
Mhm.
hey, my friends, so on Fridays or Thursday afternoons, we touch base. Hey, these are the things missing. And being Google Classroom, they can actually see what they're missing and what are the due dates. And that helps them to prioritize. Suppose they have 4 things missing for the week or due for tomorrow, then we help them prioritize. Okay, of the 4, these 2 are probably more important. Maybe the other 2 you can work during the weekend. It's okay. Or if you need help, then we can work it together. Sometimes we meet them during office hours and say, hey, do you want to just do this with us? Because it is hard to be doing a lot of those things asynchronous, like on your own. So
Mhm.
we call them, say, hey, just join me during my office hours and you can work on it while I do my own stuff. So that is encouraging, so then they know that, oh, I can have some company with my teacher or a co-student. So being Montessori, we keep reminding them, and we have been fortunate that our students have not slacked off just for the sake of it. There's always been a good reason why it has happened. So we are fortunate in that way. We have good kids, good families.
That's rightly said. I agree with you, Miss Bhairavi, but do you think that out of this, I can tell two things might be a tedious thing? One, don't you think if you are not tracking the work strictly, do you think the laziness will increase and the irresponsibility will increase in the child?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes if the kids can sense that, oh, I can fly under the radar, then they continue flying under the radar. So it has happened. Sometimes I have caught people after 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you're missing this and this and this. But I think as a teacher, our responsibility is to constantly ensure
Sure.
work is getting completed. Sometimes it is not just the completion of work, but the mastery of the work. So we need to track if the child is mastering, even if they have not completed, if they have mastered. Some students don't want to complete once they think they have mastered it. So that's very demotivating them. Like it's not motivating enough for them to finish up work when they think, oh, I mastered. So you make accommodations as and when needed based on the student and their needs. So,
Awesome. So, Ms. Bhairavi, I wanted to touch upon two, three things, and then we will close the session. You, in our conversation, you said globally. Now, the kids can do globally. Can you tell some example if some of the kids of your students are abroad? How are you managing their time?
so we do have a student who is currently in India
Mm-hmm.
for family reasons. So one of our teachers, my co-workers, she meets the student a little earlier in the day. So before our usual time starts, she's meeting the student, before time because of the time difference. So we do have another student who is at least 8 hours ahead of us. So
Mm-hmm.
they have adjusted, we have adjusted. We have some students who are traveling to California next week for, the holidays. So we do adjust a little bit, not a whole lot, but the parents are accommodating and we are also adjusting. So, coming to a middle point where it is reasonable for a student to be awake till late in the night or to wake up early in the morning. So it has been challenging, but it has worked out so
So,
far. It has worked out so far.
hats off, Ms. Bhairavi, and not only you, to all the teachers who are doing.
Absolutely.
I could see the patience level when you think about them, today they are doing one-to-one with the kids, which is not required if it is face-to-face, right? You are sitting in front of Zoom meetings every day in, day out, tracking things, looking after the kids, answering parents' questions. Sometimes don't you feel it's a tedious job?
We chose this over others for a good reason. So definitely we didn't all sign up to teach virtually. That was not but then you adapt and you have to be flexible. That's, I think, a biggest point, or the most important thing a teacher should have is flexibility. No 2 days are the same for us. Every day is different. So if you're not flexible and if you're not ready to kind of go along with the flow, it is hard to be a teacher. So you have to take it in your stride to be flexible. And, at the end of the day, you walk out with the satisfaction of bringing the spark, the aha moments in learning. Mm-hmm. When the student goes, oh my God, I got it. Oh, I can teach this person. I know exactly how to do it. Those are the moments that keep you going, that brings you back to the classroom. So it's the students. At the end of the day, it's nobody but the students who bring you back to keep doing it.
Okay. I would like to, because you have done psychology degree, I would like to ask you a couple of questions out of virtual, but I just wanted to really hear from you. Private and public school, right? So if you were to observe the psychology of the kid, not only from the behavioral or the educational perspective or the screen time, right? These are the three aspects I want you to ask this question. What is your feeling if you really take sampling of a public school and a private school, the behavioral, the educational, the learning mechanism? What do you think 3 to 5 differences?
I think this is I don't want to generalize, because each private school is different.
Okay.
Each public school is different. And the demographics of public schools and the private schools, so there are just so many elements and components that I don't think it's easy or it is right to generalize. Mm-hmm. But I would say, like, a smaller school, whether it's private or public, mm-hmm. A smaller class size where the teachers are taken care by their administrations, and they get the support from the parents, they're definitely able to nurture mm-hmm. the students better. So it is always a smaller environment which is ideal for learning. But it's a tough. I don't think it's fair to generalize a public school with private school, because some private schools are humongous, and your child can get lost in that setting. So it really depends on where. And parenting, a huge part of a child's development is the parenting that takes place in the house. So we are, and as an educator, you do your share, but the parents are the major chunk. So it all, at the end of the day, comes down to the work put in by the parents.
Oh my God, you rightly said. This reminds me, whenever we go in the community, chit chats with the parents, they always have a gossips, right? What's going on in the virtual, everything. It's like a task to the parents, and the parents have to sit with the children to do. That is one gossip. And also people, I could see, I also do not want to generalize, but I hear from people from the public school especially, they say, oh my God, they are giving a lot of work. They are not even reviewing. So yes, even private school, my kid as well, she has a lot of work, but I see a lot in the public schools. That's why I was asking, what's the difference here? Do I need to understand that public school is giving more work and more knowledgeable to the kids, or I should understand private schools are not giving much work? So I was just a little confused. So that's the reason I'm asking you this question.
Yeah. No, the question is valid. My children are in public school setting right now, but they're older. One is high school, one is college. The way to look at this is the quality of instruction. It doesn't have to be the quantity. So as long as the teachers focus on the quality of the instruction rather than being too busy with the quantity, we are going to be successful as teachers, and wanting the kid to come back the next day. So a lot needs to be, it falls on us as educators to just step back. There are times when I have to step back and see, okay, how did last week go? Was I successful? Was it overwhelming? And feedback from the students. I think a lot of those schools where there is frustration from the parents is because the teachers are not getting feedback from the parents or the students. Now, there are many reasons why in public schools that's not possible. So I wouldn't be able to go there. That's not fair. But just sense what your students are feeling. Like if you don't get the feedback, it doesn't have to be verbal, but just when they walk into the Zoom room and oh no, these are checked out people. People are checked out. We need to kind of make a change. So the teachers have to make the change so the kids are getting some quality. It is not the quantity, especially when the kids are home. I think it's the connection, it's the quality of the education. It doesn't have to be how many worksheets you did.
I agree with you. You rightly said that quality is very important. So, Ms. Bhairavi, I would like to really ask a couple of questions. Let's say your toughest top 3 challenges as a teacher, and top 3 challenges what the kids might bring it to you, right? Something they might not be interested in this virtual, or they might tell some concerns. Can you share some of them with all the viewers so that the parents who are watching will get a sense of it?
So challenges I face and challenges my students face.
Okay.
That's your question, right?
Yes.
I would say my challenge is firstly putting too much pressure on myself to do the best, to deliver the best. And that's the biggest challenge, when you always think I could do more, I could do better, which is a good thing because then you're going to try harder. And time, having enough time to prepare and to be, to recharge and come back. That's the challenge pretty much for all educators. And in terms of students, I think the biggest challenge is for the parents. And I feel we teachers have to be empathetic towards the parents right now. So when you have those parents reaching out, being frustrated or struggling, more than being defensive, we need to be assertive and reach out and listen to them. Because all they want is somebody, especially the teacher, to listen to their concern. So, more than students, it's the parents. They're going through a lot. This is a difficult time for them. So we as educators need to be empathetic. We need to listen and give time to the parents because they are the one holding the fort at home. I can do whatever I want, but if they are not at peace, they're not going to be able to support the students. So it's a partnership. So it's important so that's the biggest challenge for the parents is the stress level is intense. Yeah. I also have a message for the parents that it's not the end of the world. So, take a pause. It'll be over and our kids will bounce back. They will catch up on everything that they missed. But, their mental well-being, parents' mental well-being and the students' mental well-being is most important at this point. So I think it's not worth stressing over mastering concepts.
Exactly.
So, I think that's the biggest challenge. I think for the students, the challenge is not being there with their peers.
Yes.
That is the biggest challenge. And sometimes I see that they don't leave the Zoom meeting after the meeting is over. They just hang around. They don't want to leave. And I know because they just want to be around people. So I teach music, like Indian classical music, in my spare time. And some of my students, and they all go to traditional schools, and they just don't leave the meeting after the music lesson is over. And I know they just want to chat. They're missing on that social aspect. So we sit and chat. And
I think you covered what was in my mind, especially on the parents, because lot of parents are frustrated at their work and they might write a lot of emails to the teachers with the same tone what they think sometimes,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's how you read. And you rightly said you need to be empathetic,
and
right?
pick up the phone and talk to the parents.
Talk to the parents. Yeah, I
Is
think rather than writing emails, talking would help. And I
because
know that you all are busy
hmm,
too. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I,
but sometimes say, hey, can I quickly talk to you? So I do that. I prefer to just call and say, can we talk for 2 minutes? And it really eases. It eases the it eases the communication, and you all come back to the same ground. So
exactly, Miss Bhairavi. Not only you, all the parents who are in IT or any other way, they have to talk and make the situation ease. Otherwise, your emails are going to be read in which mood we never know. So we always need to be careful.
yeah, no, but it's hard. Written communication is always harder to interpret. So you know.
Yeah. I think pretty much you have answered everything. And I think one other thing I wanted to definitely talk with you on the examples, right? For example, if you see the multiplication, the way I learned is totally different. I used to memorize the multiplications. But when my kid is doing the checkerboard aspect, wow, that was really awesome. I really enjoyed and I wanted to do video on that. Believe
Yes,
me or
let's
not,
do
that
it.
really
Yeah.
caught my attention. So
Mhm.
can you tell me some of those things? What is the difference of the Montessori, that's signature type of learning?
So, like when you said checkerboard, when you're using such hands-on material, the children actually get a good sense of the place value. What it is to be in the unit space value. What it is. What does it feel to be in the 10 space value? Oh, you have those 10 bead bars. Oh, so if I'm holding two of the 10 bead bars, it's 20. So that sensorial experience, that kinetic connection that you make with your place values, with your numbers, starts, and then you transition to visualize all that in your head. I think that's the most beautiful part about Montessori education is the connection with the material. So when you say 2346, the child is visualizing, oh, this is the place value, and the unit's place value is 10 times less than the tens place value. And the hundreds place value is 10 times more than the tens place value. And they experience with those boards, with those materials, and manipulating with the beads and the material, that these concepts become more concrete for them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That is very well said. And I could see the difference how the kids learn with this feeling the material. And Ms. Bhairavi, we are at the end of the session. I would love you to tell few precautions to the viewers as a parents, what precautions they should take during this virtual time.
I would say the first thing is monitor your kids on the screen, because intentionally or unintentionally, there is a lot of content online
Exactly.
which the students cannot process. So it's important, if you can set up security features or you monitor your kids' movement. A lot of times it's unintentional. They don't know, they are Googling, like everything is Googling now. Every word they come across, they don't know, they want to Google it. And those words can lead to, some interesting, unnecessary sites. So I think supervising, monitoring your kids and knowing what they're doing on screen is important, and getting them away from the screen, helping them, make them do chores, make them rake the grass outside, rake the leaves outside, do something. So I think we as parents have to get ourselves out away from the screen so we can get our kids away. So reducing screen time and monitoring their screen time, I think those are the biggest challenges, and we have to be on top of it.
Wow. Definitely. As you said, all the parents are already watching, and I'm sure that they will follow this rule and keep their kids safe.
Oh yes.
And thank you so much for your 30 minutes time during this weekend. And definitely this all the the themes what you have said, or the precautions what you have made, definitely help the parents. And if you have anything more, we will do in more sessions in the coming sessions, Ms. Bhairavi. Again, thank you. Have a great weekend. Thank you, viewers, for your time. And then keep watching Insight with Praveen Puram, and for more good shows and knowledgeable shows for you. And it is available on Mana TV as well. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Bye, Ms. Bhairavi.